Welcome to the Million Dollar Multi-Op Podcast. Here, you're going to find education, entertainment, and a little inspiration on how to get to the next level. Are you a DJ company owner that's looking for the secret sauce? Congrats, you found it.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Million Dollar Multi-Op Podcast. I'm your host, David Osborne with BlueprintLearn.com. And on the podcast today, we have not only a successful DJ, a successful business owner, but a great friend of mine who, I wish I saw more. Welcome to the podcast, Todd Powers.
Thank you for having me, David.
That's the most people I've ever heard in the studio.
That's pretty impressive. I've never heard that before. So,
well, they heard you were coming on. They heard you were a big Boston Celtics fan, and they showed out for you.
There you
Look
go.
At you. You got your clover on.
Go Celts.
Let's see that again. You been to any games this year?
We went to one, yeah. Have you ever been to a Celtics game, David?
I've been with you.
Oh, you have? We
Yes.
won't say the results of the game, but how was your experience?
It was a 10. I was a 12 out of 10.
So fun.
It was so much fun. I should root for the home team, the Atlanta Hawks, but what can I say? That was a great experience.
I think you went in a nice guy from Atlanta area and came out a Bostonian, which
I think you're right. Do they call them mass holes? Do people say that?
They do. I'm a Connecticut hole, whatever that means, but
Okay.
not a mass hole.
If you're listening and you're in either one of those two states,
We love you.
Correct me if I'm wrong, or if Todd's wrong. You when you pulled up when you showed your hoodie, you showed the clover on your hoodie. I couldn't help but notice behind you you got a wall full of Jordans.
I do. It's gluttony. It's kind of gross, and it doesn't just end there. For people that are watching, it goes to the other side of the room too. I have a wife who is the greatest tolerant person in the world, who allows me to have a room for my sneakers. So there's actually a story behind that, if you don't mind me telling that.
Only if I can say real quick.
Yes.
Is that actually an office or is it a closet?
It's an office, but it's a sneaker closet. So
okay, if it's a sneaker closet and it's an office, you could call it a cloffice if you wanted to.
Ooh, it's a Hollywood name. I love it. Turntable's right there because we do practice. But
okay,
yeah. So
well, hit us. Talk to me about those Jordans.
So yeah, humble beginnings. I grew up a kid from the hood. We didn't have a lot. My mom was a teacher. My dad worked construction, but was sick basically my whole life. And so we didn't have a lot. We didn't go out to dinner. We went out to dinner like twice a year. My kids are kind of spoiled. So I wanted a pair of Jordans when they came out. And my dad was like, I don't even know what that is. And like, it's this pair of sneakers, Dad. He said, I tell you what, you make the basketball team, I'll buy you a pair of Jordans. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I worked my butt off, made the team, starting as a younger guy. And we go to the store. And I say to my dad, okay, these are the ones I want. And he sees the price. They're $125. And he says to the guy, no, we don't want all of them. We want just that one pair right there. And the guy's like, no, that's what they are. And he whispers in my ear, Todd, we won't eat this week if we buy those. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't have to eat this week. I want the Jordans. And so we obviously couldn't get the Jordans. And I understood. I felt bad for my dad, at the time. And I just knew then, no matter what I do when I get older, I was going to be able to afford the things that we wanted and what my kids wanted. So I wear the Jordan 11s to every job to kind of remember where I came from. And I don't take anything for granted because I'm blessed. I'm a millionaire. And I know that's the name of the $1 Million Multi-Op is the name of the podcast. And I'm a millionaire because I have a great life and I've been blessed.
Bro, coming out the gate swinging with such... You can make me cry on the podcast in the first 3 minutes and 57 seconds. We should have a cry count. I think it's like how many days since David's cried? I don't know, like 700 or 2?
I heard you were cutting onions. I don't believe it.
We don't know. We won't disclose that information. Okay, but that's like I really like that, and I like that. Anything that has to do with working hard, being a hustler, that's something I know about you and has been a key defining characteristic about you that we met, 2018, 2019?
Yeah.
We've known each other 5-6 years now.
Yep.
Everything about the way you're built, I feel like your core values and our core values in our company and mine are very similar. You're a very servant-hearted person. You love to help people. You're a very hard worker. You take action, and you're just like one of the most joyful people that I know.
Right back at you. That's what I love about you. You care about other people as much as you care about making the dollar or your own business. And I think we're very similar in that way. So I admire you for that.
And like I think that's cool that when you tell that story about the Jordans and how that motivates you and that just keeps you going and keeps you stronger. And how many years have you? Oh, so if you wear those to every show, how many shows have you? Okay, this is 2025. About how many shows did you personally do in 2024?
We just did the numbers yesterday. So I did 82 weddings last year.
Woo!
Which sound, I know everyone's like, dude, you're insane. I did 122 the year after, 2022 after COVID. So I'm a psycho though. Like I love this, Dave. I can't get enough of this. I can't, it's my drug. I don't do drugs. I still love it. And so am I slowing down? Yes. But I just can't get enough of this. I consider myself so lucky every time I go to work. I mean, there's times where you're like, ugh. But for the most part, man, name a better job? There isn't one. And I'm still pretty good at it. And it sounds like I'm being cocky, but I'm not. I work hard and I keep things fresh. And so, we'll talk about that, I'm sure, but, I'm blessed beyond belief. And I have a wife who's super supportive and 2 amazing kids and all that stuff too. So,
and you're over 30 years in, right?
33. Yeah. 33. And so we did the math. We're going to reach 1 million people that have been to a Jock in the Box event in September of 26. We kind of did the math on that.
The statistics are incredible. And I mean, let's talk about this though. So with 33 years of shows, mm-hmm. I think that I've been doing this is my 18th year. And I think that every so often, I ballpark it every 6-7 years, you really feel a reset, like you can kind of survive on the same mental operating system of the way that you do events and the way that you kind of operate within a market. And you know what I'm saying? But there's a point where you feel that tension where you're like, okay, what I've been doing isn't working. I got to refresh. I got to update. I got to like refuel. To make it 33 years, you have to be very comfortable with this idea. How have you taken the craft that you started 33 years ago, and how have you brought it through the different points of your career to continue to stay relevant?
What's the saying? Evolve or die. Like I constantly am changing. So, I could be considered in the boomer category. I'm not, by the way. I'm Gen X, right on the cusp. But you got to change with the times, and I've always done that. Like we just got AI for our mirror, for our photo booth. And I was ready to jump on that right away. I listen to the younger generation. Cam is part of our business now. I hang out with a 27-year-old every day. So, Dad, did you hear the new Kendrick? Oh, well, one of the Ball brothers has a new song out. He's, like he just posted and went viral. Cam posted the new thing went viral. So I'm lucky to have that. He's living in my house. You know what I mean? So, you can be ignorant and say, oh, these kids don't know what they're talking about, or you can listen to them. And so, because guess what? That's the generation we sell to. And so am I not going to listen to the brides and grooms? Like that's his generation. So, what's this? I think Mike Walters said, you don't stop listening to music when you get old. You get old when you stop listening to new music, something like that. And so I embrace new things. Cam was a big data miner. And so we're using that to our advantage now. I was an intuition guy, like, hey, I have a stomach ache today. That means I should buy something new. And it worked. It worked for about 32 years. I can say I'm lucky, or, I just have good intuition. But now we're using numbers, and a shout out to Matt Radicelli and MentorPause, and even you, David. You've helped me immensely in certain ways. I'm not a numbers guy, but we're using those numbers now. We pulled our numbers yesterday. And we made decisions. We're raising our prices because of what we did last year. And so it wasn't just like, I'm going to raise my prices. No, now we have a reason why. So there's some science involved, which I kind of like that. And knowledge is power, like not only for business, but for health too. And if you don't know my health story, go watch my documentary on my webpage. But, I have a Whoop now. And so it told me yesterday, like, hey, you're not taking as many steps as you used to. I think I average 12,000 steps a day, which is a lot for an old dude. And so It said you only took 4,000 steps today. Well, it's 22 degrees. That's why. But guess what? Right after this, I'm going for a walk, and it's 26 degrees right now. And because it told me, so knowledge is power, and you can use it in certain ways.
So what I hear you saying, if I can kind of paraphrase,
Yeah,
is that you're open.
yeah.
I think like that's probably the biggest thing, that if you feel like, if you're listening to this and you feel like there's, I don't think there's anyone who's going to come up to you and tell you that you're out of touch. Maybe your kids will, but like, I think, clients and stuff, they're just going to not book you. They're just not going to, they're going to judge you that you're not relevant. And then they're just going to make the decision. But if you're open, and I'd say a decent amount of self-awareness and some humility, then when you're A, maybe setting yearly goals, B, checking in monthly, you're open to growth. And then you surround yourself with people that are experts or relevant in those areas, you are ready to change. And I think you just always, change is the only constant.
There you go. I love that.
Change is the only constant.
Yeah.
So speaking of changing, and, I think you've told me this quote in the past, but, and I'm probably going to get it wrong, so I'm going to need you to correct me, but it's something to the effect of like, everyone wants to be Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
But you really should want to be Phil Jackson. And it's kind of to the idea that all of us as successful entertainers built our whole persona and all of our success built off of being the star player. But really, it's the guy that's putting the stuff together, right?
Right. Who doesn't want to be Michael Jordan? You want to be the star. They're not interviewing after the game. We can relate it now. They're interviewing Jason Tatum. They're not interviewing, the Coach Joe. You know what I mean? They do sometimes. But for the most part, I think Jordan Chance told me, and I think Glenn Roush was the originator. He said, everybody wants to be Michael Jordan, but sometimes you need to be Phil Jackson. I was not ready to be Phil Jackson. I want to be the star. But you know what? It's happening. And I said, when is it going to happen? Cam is full-time with us now, as I said before. I always said when Cam is better than me at DJing and mixing, it's going to be time. And I hope he's not listening to this, but that little bastard is so damn good, and he's getting better than me, and it's time. And I'm ready for it now. I wasn't ready for it. I said to Karen the other night, my wife, I think I'm ready. And so I did 80 this year, and I'm capping myself at 60 jobs. Yeah. And so how do you do that? I don't know how to say no to people because I just love people. So I'm raising my price to a price that I think is fair, but that some people will say no. And guess what? That's going to trickle down to the guys. So if they say no to me, then the guys are going to work more. So I'm ready. Like, I've put my time in. And now it's time to teach. And I think you're that way too, Dave. I think that's why you do this podcast. You want other people to learn from you. I want the next generation to be better than our generation. That's the key. And for me, we talk about money and stuff like that. I don't want my kids to have things I didn't have, like Jordan's, even though they do. I want them to learn the things I never learned. I don't know my numbers as good as I should in my business. So if when Cam takes over this business, he's going to know his numbers because I want him to learn the things I didn't learn. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I think you're describing what also is being a father.
Yeah.
Is like you want the next generation to be better off than you. And I think parents are going to understand this, that like your kids learn a lot from you, but you learn a lot from your kids.
Tons.
In so many ways, your kids transform you to be a different version of yourself. And I'd have to say that there's got to be some part of Cam's journey that has made you ready. Like you said, when he's better than me, when, you're kind of put it on the external, but I think that's normal because that you have to be a certain version of Todd Powers to be ready to step back from being Michael Jordan, and knowing when to leave in your prime and not be the,
Don't say Aaron Rodgers because I'm a Jets fan. Okay.
But and we've had a few podcasts about this topic, about like the self-awareness with Jason Clark and Sally Ogden and some different ones about that, but really understanding, sometimes you're just not at that place. If you're 24 and you're out there crushing it, you're probably nowhere close to being ready to be Phil Jackson.
Yeah.
But you might need a Phil Jackson you still need a Phil Jackson. You need someone else to be your Phil Jackson.
When Phil Jackson left, correct me if I'm wrong, they were not the same team anymore.
They weren't.
So,
They weren't at all.
Yeah.
But, and that, again, those are callbacks to some other things that we've learned here together, which is like, if you're going to be the star and stay the star, you need a manager. Right. And another powerful thing that I've learned working with multi-op owners is that just because you're a great DJ doesn't make you a great manager. It's totally
hard.
different skill set that a lot of people want, but they don't have. They didn't take the time to develop it. And then, sometimes you get to a position where you're like, I'm ready to exit, or I'm ready to move, or I'm ready to grow. And you're like, I don't have that skill set. So,
and I've done everything from day one. I'm the janitor, jock in the box. I was everything. And now Karen does DJ event planner. So it's hard for me to delegate. And so I'm learning. So if you're me out there and you're thinking about it, you got to let it go. You got to give up the reins and let people try. And they're going to make mistakes and so forth. They're not going to be you, but how did we learn? You know what I mean? That you're going to be able to guide them, so they're going to be better off than you were in that certain position.
Todd, have you ever heard that quote? I've said it a few times on the cast, but it's not my quote. It's Dan Martell's. Something done 80% as well as you by someone else is 100% freaking awesome.
Yeah. No, I don't think I've ever heard that, but I love that. It's like 80 is the number. You ever hear the 80-20 rule? Like, I think 80 for some reason, like you should eat 80% good food and 20% shit. You know what I mean?
You are you. You are Todd. Now, even me, we operate at similar levels, right, professionally, you could give me something to do off your plate, and I might, if you're like DJ in the jock on the box style, I might be like, I can only do that 80% as well as you, but I'm a different person, and that's 100% freaking awesome for you, because now you have someone you trust that you can delegate to.
Yeah.
How did it feel when you started delegating to Karen or to Cam, and then it went well?
Yeah, I noticed I'll have some more freedom, and that's, it's not just about making money; it's the freedom that money will give you. So, I want to travel more. I want to it gave me time to do more things that I want to do, the working out and stuff like that, because I didn't have time to do all that because I was doing everything, and so, yeah, it made me feel great. And so I wish I had done it earlier, just like everything else. Just like I wish I had put money in for retirement. I wish I had worked out, or, all those things. So if you're out there listening and you're in your 30s or 40s, just start. Like, no one ever went broke putting money into retirement, ever. No one ever filed for Chapter 11 because they put too much money into retirement. I don't know if that's a famous quote, but it could be now. Like, maybe someone will be quoting me someday. Right? Does that make sense?
It makes total sense.
Yeah. And so I didn't do that. Like, we're going to be fine. But I wish I started early. And guess what? Cam already has an IRA. At 26 years old, he has a retirement fund already. I didn't even dream of that at 26. So yeah, we're doing things for the next generation already. That's awesome.
So, when the things that we're describing, like you might hear these terms thrown around, like exit plans. And I think the term exit plan can seem scary because it kind of indicates that you're exiting a company. Yeah. But I think there's different variations of what an exit plan is. And that could be, giving your company to your kids. You may never step away, but you might not perform anymore. You might sell your company. Those are exit plans. And so there are, I think it's the book, The E-Myth.
Love it.
Talks about running your business like a business, not like a job.
Yeah.
That was a very transformational book for me to read. And when I say read, I mean listen to,
Stream.
In the car while I was driving. But it's about the idea of you go into any McDonald's in America. Let's not talk about the milkshake machines. I'm just talking about, let's just say everything's working, right? You go into McDonald's, everything's got labels, everything's got systems, they've got pictures. They can train someone up to work in McDonald's in no time because the systems and processes that operate a franchise are just so clean and so well done. They can franchise and they can scale. So the E-Myth is all about, even if you never open up a second location, you should run your business like you do. It should be good enough and documented enough that you could give it to somebody else and they could run a version of your company. So that's probably, if I had to guess, kind of some of the stuff you're doing now, right?
Yeah. So just to go back a little, I started hanging out with people like you, and you guys started talking about SOPs, and here I am Googling what the fuck's a SOP? Can I say F? I'm like, what is a SOP? And so, yeah, Dave, tell everybody what a SOP is.
Standard operating procedure.
Yes.
Right?
So
yeah,
we had none of that. Oh, we don't know how to use the mirror. Well, call me and I'll tell you. We're making videos now. Like, Cam's part of the generation, and he uses Canva. Like he's just, our social media has gone through the roof because of Canva and him knowing how to use it and so forth. So, if you're my age or even younger, or it doesn't matter, start making some standard operating procedures that are going to help so you don't have to answer the phone and text every single time. So I think that answered your questions. Like, we're starting to do those things one time. And you know what? I think that's how you created the blueprint. You started doing that, like, hey, why don't we just, share this with everybody? And we were like, damn, let's do this, So.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I started doing recently, like in the past few months, is any kind of enhancement, activation, anything that someone is inquiring about that only I'm qualified to do because only I know how to do it. I will take that on a total of 3 times. First time I will do it to figure it out and be like, all right, I'm going to figure out what works, what doesn't work. Second, I'm going to create a video and train a person, and they're going to come with me to do it. And then the third time they're going to do it, and I'm going to come with them, and then I'm out.
And then you don't have to do it ever again.
And then if I can't do that in 3 times, I won't take it on.
Really? Okay. We have the 80 rule and now the 3 rule.
The 3 rule. There's lots of 3 rules though, right?
Yeah, there is.
What's another 80 rule?
Geez, the food is a big one. Well, if I can talk about health a little bit, that's where I got the 80-20 rule.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Talk about the health because it's a big thing for you, especially on stage. And lots of people have seen you speak on stage, but a lot of people that are listening have never heard you speak on stage.
Yeah, I mean, everything we're talking about right now can't be done unless you're healthy. Like what's the saying? You can have a million problems until you're not healthy, and then the only problem you have is getting healthy again so you can fix the other problems. Something like that. Man, and so for real quick, 14 years ago, I had a stent put in, 90% clog. I shouldn't be here, man. I should be, a distant memory, like, oh, he had a good run there for, however many years. He was a good DJ. What happened? So I got a second chance. And so, get that workout in, like, do it first. Like, I'm not saying do it at the beginning of the day, but that's the most important thing. Like, reduce your bad habits, 80-20, eat 80 good things, do 20, eat 20 of crap food. A walk, just go for a walk. Like, how hard is it to do that? Like, I don't go run mountains or anything like that, and read too. Like, if you're not reading, read. Successful people have libraries and the rest have big screen TVs, which I have both. And if you don't read, listen. Like, every time I go on a walk, I'm listening to somebody that I admire. They're going to have something that's going to inspire you. It may not be exactly what you think, but it's going to spur a thought for you. So
let me ask you a question on those heavy hitting health tips that you have.
Yeah.
So you say, all right, get the walk in, get the workout in, read. So, we're filming this in the new year. We're about a week into the new year when this is getting filmed. This will drop in, I don't know, a month from now, maybe. But listen, like, this is the time of New Year's resolutions and people taking on a lot. And they're like, okay, this year I'm going to read, I'm going to walk, I'm going to hydrate, I'm going to work out, I'm going to eat better food. And it's just like so overwhelming that they quit.
Yeah.
How do we get started? If you're like, man, hey, I'm unhealthy. I know I need a problem. I know I want to start doing this stuff. What's like the first step, pun intended, to like take steps towards getting healthy that actually can stick? How do you get it to stick?
And this is too easy of an answer, but just start. Like, for me, the hardest part, I have a tonal in the basement, tonal the workout thing. The hardest part for me doing that tonal is opening that cellar door and taking that first step down. That's the hard part. Once I take that first step down, I'm not going to turn around and come back up the stairs. And then I start it. And afterward, I promise you, every single time, you will never say, you idiot, why did you go work out? You're going to be so happy. It's going to give you endorphins. It's going to make you feel better. Energy attracts energy. So if you're too tired to walk, it's because you're not walking enough. Just go take that walk. I promise you, if you regret it, hit me up at Jock in the Box Entertainment on Instagram, DJ Todd Powers, and tell me like, you know what, you were wrong, Todd. I hated it, and I'm pissed that I did it. You won't be. You'll be happy that you did it. So it's just a matter of doing it. I reward myself. I say, you know what, you want to have that piece of cake? Do the push-ups first, and then you can have. You want that cookie? You got to go down and work out first. So I stay. What do they say? Standing is the new smoking. I don't stand. I have a balance board, and I'm constantly. That's how I get my steps in all day. I do 12,000 steps a day. You're like, what are you, an idiot? You just walk around in circles? No, I'm constantly standing. So don't sit. Sorry if you're sitting, Dave. Try to stand if you can. That's it just keeps you more motivated. Does that help?
Yeah. Have you ever? I heard you say you reward yourself.
Yeah.
I immediately thought when you talk about going downstairs into your cellar, I was like, some people need this. They need to put their wallet with their license in it on the tonal before they go to bed the next night. And you're like, man, I got to walk down there to get my license. So I'm like giving almost like pairing something that you have to do with something that you need or something that you want to do.
Yeah. Like maybe it's not a word. You know what? I take creatine. Creatine just helps you, it helps your muscles recover quicker and stuff like that. So you know what I'll do? I'll drink my creatine. And I say, well, you took the creatine. It's not cheap. You're not going to take it for no reason. You have to go work out now because it only works 90 minutes after you take it.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. I already took it. Now I got to go do it. You know what I mean? So I kind of tricked myself.
That's what I'm kind of getting at is like giving yourself a thing to help you take that first step. For me, like I live 20 minutes away from Orange Theory. It's such a pain in the butt to get up, especially when it's cold, and get in my truck and let it warm up and go over there. And it's the same as you. If I put my workout clothes on, I'm going. I'm great. Every day when I'm like, oh, that's the last thing I want to do. If I put my shorts on, man, like I'll do it.
So in the morning, get into your workout gear. Don't get into other clothes. Then you're already all right. I already did it. There's your creatine for me. You know what I mean? And and I'm not working out so I can have a beach bod so I can show off. I want to be able to play with my grandkids someday. And so, the curls that I do are so I could lift a gallon of milk. I met, we go down to Costa Rica, to a place, and we met this old gentleman, and he said, I have a personal trainer, and he's 80 years old. And I was like, for what? And he goes, because when I go on the plane, I want to be able to lift my own luggage and put it in the overhead bin myself. I was like, no way. So he's doing shoulder exercises with a personal trainer so he can do that himself. And I was like, wow, man, that's great. And he said, yeah, there's a mountain behind here, and I climb it every day. And I was like, oh, all right. Well, if he can do it, I can do it. This mountain killed me. I thought I was going to die. This guy's 80 years old. He does it every other day. So go for that walk, man. Watch something that'll inspire. Watch the Blue Zone movies or something like that. Like those things, you don't know what a Blue Zone is, where people are healthy. And the reason why is because they're constantly active. They live in places where they don't have cars and they have to walk up and down the hills every day. So we're too stagnant. Motion is lotion. Just keep moving, man, as much as you can.
All of that is gold and reminds me, did you ever see the video? I'm pretty sure Marcello was the one who first showed me the video, but it's a video of a guy working out, and he's like, he's an older guy, and he's working out, and he's lifting like a kettlebell or a single weight over and over like this. Do you know what I'm talking about? And everyone thinks he's crazy, and they're like, what are you doing? And at the very end of the commercial or the video, you see him lifting his granddaughter up to put the star on the top of the Christmas tree. It's like a why. Knowing your why do you want to look good
on the beach? No, it's to help. And Marcello it's his place in Costa Rica, and he knows the gentleman that I'm talking about. He calls him his grandfather, and so perfect, little segue there. That's it. It's to be able to function later on, like climbing stairs. That's why I hate squats. Oh, I hate them. We live in a house that I got to climb stairs and so I don't want one of those chairs going up and down, I want to be able to do that forever, So, now working out now is for for me, I'm 56. It's for when I'm 76. It's not for now. It's for the future and keeping yourself mobile and stretching. Every morning I get up, first thing I do, pet my dog, and I go stretch, and he comes over and does the stretches with me, man. And so that's me saying thank you. And I'm not a meditator either. And so if you're not a meditator, it's okay. Go for a walk. Walking clears your mind. Walking to me is not even physical. It's a mental gift that we have. And so it clears my mind. It makes me think of things. I went on a walk and I thought of what we were going to talk about here. So, like it just gives me ideas. It takes you out of your spot in front of your computer. Vacations take you away and make you think of things that you wouldn't normally think of because you're in different surroundings. So change your surroundings. And I think that'll be helpful.
Amazing. Todd, I'm going to kind of bring this home here and tie everything up, because what we started talking about was how you've adapted and you've stayed relevant for your 33 years, how you've been open and aware and humble to like be ready to change and to ready to evolve, and what you're doing. And you're like, I love your journey of you're starting to, your business is getting more business like every day and every year. And then you're talking about your health journey. It's the same characteristic. It's you
100%.
understanding that change is really the only constant, and to embrace change. And that's changing your body, changing your habits, changing your business, changing your relationships. And you're like, listen, I'm going to learn to love change. And that's like you in a nutshell, man, that you're like, I learned to love change. And that's why I am always staying on the cusp.
And that's why you, David Osborne, are a genius, because we didn't even talk about how we're going to tie this all together. We just said, hey, let's just talk. And you pull it all together like that. So I thank you. I thank you for your friendship, for what you do for our industry. I love you, man.
Hey, you too, man. Free resources, everybody, at blueprintlearn.com/resources. And we'll see you on the next one.